What's up, YouTube? What's up, Facebook? Hope everybody's ready for the new year. I know the new year for us brings a lot of cool, exciting new things. We've got some awesome sponsors that make sure that we have the best gear available to use on our fishing trips. I was actually talking to one of our sponsors the other day, Andy Lehman with ACC Crappie Stix, and he brought up a very good point about a lot of times us experienced fishermen take for granted a lot of the little things that a lot of the new fishermen that are just learning how to fish and just coming into start fishing, us advanced fishermen, we take advantage, or we overlook the fact that some of the little things that we're doing are a huge benefit to a new fisherman. So I wanted to speak mainly today to the new fishermen. Luz and ACC Crappie Stix have sent us a bunch of brand new gear for the start of the 2019 season. So I thought, well, we'll start at the basics, from unpacking a brand new rod and reel and putting line on a spinning reel. That's a thing that took me a lot of years to learn how to do correctly. There is absolutely a wrong way to put line on a spinning reel, which will end up in line twists, and you'll end up wanting to just throw the whole reel away. So I thought I'd show you guys today how to properly put line onto a spinning reel so that you don't have all the annoying line twists that makes you just want to give up and go home. Because I've been there. I don't know any other rod company that actually goes through and evaluates the packaging that they send to their customers. I mean, even with products, you get one chance to make a good first impression, and when you open up this packaging, it's awesome. You can tell that they've spent the time to want to try to make that great first impression. Great packaging, gonna protect everything during shipping. Looks like Mr. Andy took extra good care of us on this one. He sent us a spare tip. Love it. Alright, so there you have it. There's a 11-foot mid-seat ACC Crappie stick. Now when I'm just going to put the line on the reel, I'm not going to put the whole rod together, because if I extend this rod out to 11 foot, that's going to put my spool of line out 11 foot away from me. So that's the advantage of a two-piece rod. Just use this 1/2 to put your initial line on the reel, and then if you have to mess with the spool while you're filling up your reel, it's right there by you. And Luz has sent us a bunch of brand new reels, my absolute favorite reels. This is the LLS 50, 7 bearings, super smooth. When it comes packaged with the handle folded back to take up less room in the box. Just kind of put that handle out where you want it, and you can pick which side you want the handle on. You can put it on the left side or the right side. I like my reel on the right side. But I've learned from fishing with a lot of people, it's a 50-50 toss up as to which side that person's going to want the reel handle on. I might change reels or change sides of the reel handle every other trip. But it's very easy. You just take it out, stick it in the other side, and then put your screw back in. tighten that down. Ready to go with the right hand retrieve. 7 bearings, super smooth. One other thing to watch out for is usually on the bottom of these little spinning reels there's a little switch. What that switch does is that allows you to back reel when fighting a big fish instead of using the drag. I very rarely use it, but I do know people that do and do it with success. But it does take some learning. If you were to just let that handle go without the anti-reverse turned on, that line's just gonna go everywhere. So you really gotta practice with that. So anyway, I like the anti-reverse on. Now we've got our reel on our rod. All right, so this is gonna be a jig pole for me. I like to do a lot of standing timber, vertical jigging, single pole. So I'm going to start out with a monofilament backing. I'll use any kind of monofilament backing. I want the cheapest stuff out there. This line is never going to hit the water. It's never going to be stretched by a fish. All it's doing is taking up space on the reel so that when I put this spider wire Invisibraid, this stuff is about $15 to $20 a spool. So I only want to have to use as much line off of this expensive spool as I need. That's probably about 50 to 100 feet. I usually just determine by when I can't see the monofilament backing on the spool anymore. That's how I usually determine I've got enough line on that reel. So before you put your line on the reel, you want to determine what direction that this reel is applying line onto the spool. And how you do that is you just turn this handle slowly and see which direction that this bail is turning. So this bail, and you want to look at it from this direction, this bail is turning in a clockwise direction. Why is that important? Because this is how we're going to avoid our line twists. So you then want to see how the line is coming off of the spool. This is also coming off in a clockwise direction according to that label. So we want the line to come off of the spool in the opposite direction that we're putting the line on the spool. I know it seems backwards, but it's not. I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube that are absolutely wrong. So in order to get the line to come off the spool in a counterclockwise direction, we have to flip it over and put the label side down. Now the line is going to come off of this spool in a counterclockwise direction. We're applying our line in a clockwise direction. You always have to figure that part out because these spools of line are not spooled up in the same direction according to the label. I've even had the same brand of line spooled according to the label in different directions. So you have to look at it each and every time. So we're going to spool this with the label side down. Coming off in a counterclockwise direction. So to make the loop to attach it to the spool, I know you can't see this, but I'm just making a loop and I'm putting one overhand knot and then 2 more overhand knots, kind of forming a square knot. You shouldn't ever have to put any kind of pressure onto this knot. So you don't need some fancy knot to attach your line to the spool. because you should never get to that knot. All right, so you want to open the bail on the reel, and then place the loop over the spool, and then cinch that knot down. Just cinch it down tight, and then trim your tag end off. All right, now we're ready to put our backing on the reel. So I'm just going to throw enough backing on there to fill up about half of the spool. All right, that should be good right there. All right. Now, what we've done is we've basically filled up half the capacity of that spool. We're going to be fishing vertical, so we're not going to need more than 50 to 75 foot of braided line. So there's no reason to fill that whole spool up full of very expensive braided line. So we want to take up as much room as possible on that spool, and then only fill it up with how much of the expensive line that we need. Alright. This is another knot that should never be put under tension or tested. You should never get down to this knot in the spool either. But I tie a
wrap each end of the line around 6 times. This knot might be called a Danish twist.
Always wet your knots before you cinch them down tight. There. Now we've got a good flat knot that's not going to stick up off of our reel spool. Trim the tag ends, trim them as close as possible. Alright, now remember our reel is turning clockwise, so again we want to see the line coming off the spool in a counterclockwise direction. So see, this line's even spooled in a different direction according to the label. This spool is going to be going label side up in order to come off in a counterclockwise direction because we want it opposite of what our reel's turning. So now I'm going to put this braided line on there until I can no longer see the monofilament. Alright, this is very important. See if I can get this in view for you. Alright, this leading edge of this spool, you always want to leave some of that leading edge exposed. You don't want to, that's called overfilling the spool. You don't want to overfill this, because what happens if you get slack in your line, this line just explodes off the front of that reel. And you don't want that to happen. So leave a little space, or leave a little lip of the leading edge of that spool, so that you don't overfill it and your line just falls off your spool. So I think I've got about enough line on this reel. We've covered up our monofilament. So now I'm just going to pull off a little extra line so that I can thread the line through the rest of the rod, and that's it. Alright. So now we've got our spinning reel rigged up, ready to go. Now we just need to tie our bait of choice on. Why do I choose the spider wire Invisibraid? I'm not sponsored by them in any way. I wish I was. But I really like the white color to this braided line. You can really see it, detect some light bites. And then it doesn't fray. A lot of braided lines, after you use it a lot, they get real frayed and look like a piece of wool or something. This line doesn't fray like that. I'll use a 15 or a 20 pound. This 15 is a 4-pound test diameter. That's super thin. Why do I like that thin line? Because you have less drag in the water. It makes, if you have a thicker line, it makes your bait fall a lot slower. So I like a thin line so I can reduce the amount of drag that my line has in the water. It gets that bait in front of the fish quicker. So anyway, I hope I helped a lot of you. If you got any questions, anything like that, comments, whatever, I'm here to help, guys. I hope to see y'all soon. Y'all come fishing with me.